This week, what we're going to talk about is cutting alfalfa. What we have here is a swather, and they are making a pass around the border. They're going to end up making 2 passes, so that way we can come through and make turns in our field without having to get out. On the controller, you can adjust up and down, you can adjust the pitch, and how fast the reel moves. There's an information button where you can adjust the height where it drops and lowers. There's a parking brake right here where you push that back. It'll set off the parking brake. You have your PTO to engage your reel, and you can see the reel is starting to move. Then we also have a throttle control to throttle it up, which will get the reel to move faster. This is a hydrostatic transmission. When you first turn the engine on, if the steering wheel is too far to the left or the right, it'll indicate which way you need to turn. This will prevent the swather from turning when you first start it. Once it says okay to start, you can start the engine up. Just like any PTO equipment, you want to turn it on with the RPMs low and then slowly rev up the RPMs. Once you get the RPMs up to the correct speed, we can go ahead and lower that head and then push that joystick forward, and that's going to cause you to go forward. After that, you just want to steer and kind of follow your line. The purpose of the reel is to take the hay and fold it over the blades that are underneath this. That helps make sure that you get a nice good cut, and it'll help feed it through the rest of the machine. Underneath, you can see the sickle bar. Once you engage that PTO, that sickle bar moves back and forth, and it essentially acts like a pair of scissors. You can see some of the mechanisms that cause that stuff to basically move back and forth. There's a lot of mechanics, a lot of different things that are going on the inside. The other thing that you'll notice on the back of that is the auger. That auger is going to take that cut hay, and it's going to move that in towards the center of this machine. This machine is a little bit different to operate. You have a joystick that moves forward and also backwards. When you're going forward, steering is normal. When you're going backwards, it's opposite of what you think. So when you do that, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but just like anything else, a little bit of experience, and you'll have no issues. The head of this is controlled by a hydraulic accumulator. What that does is sets a consistent height every time you raise and then lower that head. Depending on the type of field, the terrain, what type of material cutting, you need to adjust those for each field. Once you get it adjusted, every time you drop that head down all the way, and the height is going to be set for you. Once the hay goes through the auger, it goes through a little crimper and then comes out the back. You can see there are metal plates that are directing that hay into a windrow. Typically what we do is we wait 3 to 5 days, depending on the temperature, to let this stuff dry out a little bit. The radiator screen has a little wiper blade that helps keep that free and clear from debris. There's a lot of flour material and stuff that gets on there. Sometimes you have to occasionally clean it off. One issue that we were having when running this machine is there was a lot of grass material. This alfalfa has a lot of weeds. That grass material was getting caught up in that sickle because the blade wasn't as sharp as it needed to be, and we had to constantly get out and unclog. The plates on the backside can be adjusted in or out for either a more narrow or a wider windrow. Depends on how heavy the crop is, how hot the temperature is, to let it dry. In the alfalfa field, we have checks that we flood irrigate. There are little berms that are spaced 50 feet apart. The head of this swather is 14 feet wide. What we do is we make 4 passes in between each check, cutting the berm down and the space in between. It leaves us with about 5 feet of overlap, so that way we make sure that we don't miss any spots and we get complete coverage. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Next week we are going to be doing some silage corn planting using the GPS, so we'll go through the John Deere planter. See you guys next week.